see that.
Here's the second part of the 1-2 punch, the finale. Treasury Secretary in a Harris administration. Who is it?
Who's closest to buying it?
That ended in exciting fashion. That's the panel at CNBC's Squawk Box, and they're just being so honest and so transparent that the Treasury Secretary position, being that cabinet secretary, is a thing that can be bought, and it's a thing that they expect, in this case, will be bought. Here's more.
Who's closest to buying it?
Who's closest? Well, the people leading the charge on Wall Street, you have Ray McGuire, you have Blair Efron, you have
they're
the
major donors.
Yeah, and they're really putting themselves front and center. But who she chooses remains to be seen. Jamie Dimon's name is always floated.
Yeah, here's what I'm going to say.
Who do you think?
I'm going to say that I think that her first pick, if she had her own, up to her own volition, she actually would try to get Jamie Dimon to do it. Whether he'd do it or not, I think is a question. I think after that, she'd actually pick a Gina Raimondo kind of person, which I actually think, and I have a lot.
Okay, I think there's a lot there that is absolutely fascinating, including if it were up to her, it should be, she should be choosing, but he would have you believe that if it were totally up to her and she didn't have to answer to anyone else or whatever, it would be Jamie Dimon. And what's fascinating about that is that's apparently like Trump's main pick as well. He's saying he wouldn't push out the current head of the Fed, but he does want Jamie Dimon for Treasury. And I just feel like, the two different parties should have a different guy that they think should be helping lead the economy. There should be at least some shallow top level difference between the two.
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
But anyway, lots of concerns from that little clip. What do you think?
So yeah, John, you hit the nail on the head there. There's two parts of this clip, this tiny little clip that shows you exactly where we are in American politics that are great examples of late stage corruption. One is, in the old days, the mainstream media, which is corporate media, which is the beneficiary of most of the corruption, they get the billions of dollars in political ads. So they love the corruption even more than the politicians do and even more than the donors do, because they get all that revenue and profit, right? So they felt like they had a fiduciary responsibility to cover it up in the past. So they would never talk about money in politics. And if anybody brought it up, they'd be like, oh, that sounds conspiratorial. Just because AIPAC gave him $18 million, you think that he's gonna do AIPAC any favors? Okay, and you think that they're not. And again, fill in the blank, ExxonMobil, Pfizer, et cetera. These guys are obviously controlled by the donors, but in the past, they'd be like, no way. Now, they're like, oh, it turns out there's nothing anybody can do about it. We could just say it. So we'll just go on national TV and be like, who do you think's gonna buy it? Do I buy a bidder? I'm going at 100 million, 200 million, 200 million. No, we got somebody at 225. Can I see 250? They're just saying it now because that's mainstream media going, there's nothing you could do about it, okay? Those our friends on Wall Street are gonna buy the Treasury Secretary position, and we'll tell you who we like. And by the way, anyone they like is going to be a terrible Treasury Secretary. So I'll get back to that in a second. The second reason why this is late stage corruption is because, to John's point, wait, both Trump and Kamala Harris are thinking of picking Jamie Dimon as Treasury Secretary? So who's in charge here? Because it doesn't look like it's Trump or Kamala Harris. It looks like whoever is the leading people pushing Jamie Dimon on both candidates look like they're in charge. And guess who those folks are? Donors. Guess where a lot of donors come from? Wall Street. I know. But you know what? I used to say, oh, these are all shocking. And if you told a mainstream media reporter, they would think you were crazy. But nowadays, I guess they would say, oh, of course you're right. Isn't it great? Let's go tell everyone on TV. So massive corruption. So Jamie Dimon is a giant banker. He has the banker's interest in mind. The fact that they're considering him, it's like if Kamala Harris, if you're crazy enough to consider Jamie Dimon, please have enough sense to not say it, because you can't be less populist than picking the head of JP Morgan Chase. The guy who got the bank bailouts, the guy who has argued for deregulation of the bank so they could take crazier risk with our money, etc. Beloved by Wall Street. You're gonna pick the Prince of Wall Street as your Treasury Secretary? Then you're gonna negate the Tim Walz pick. Please don't be stupid. Don't say stuff like that out loud. And of course, do I want her to do it when she gets in? Of course not, that would be a terrible pick. But again, keep it real, guys. She's not some sort of populist queen that the internet is making her out to be. She's a very standard Democrat, which is better than a crazed fascist, but be careful about your expectations. The other person they mentioned was Gina Raimondo. Now that's not a bundler or donor, that's a politician, a Democratic one, but very, very friendly to donors. Very conservative, very corporate. That's why CNBC is like, oh, she's all right too. Either we get the real boss in or we get the person who's gonna report to the boss. Either way, hey, stock market, Wall Street, we're in good shape either way. So they're all ecstatic. All right, Ramesh.
Yeah, it's this story grossed me out, and it took a little bit away, it curbed my enthusiasm a little bit. Because I'm pretty excited and feeling relieved and kind of a breath of fresh air with Harris and Walz, especially the Walz pick, really. I really hope it's not going to be a redo of Biden's. Nothing will fundamentally change, right? His famous words that he told to donors that I think sowed the seeds for our sort of widespread discontent, lack of excitement about him. But I do also want to note that Biden did name, and not that she's some great secretary, but he did name Janet Yellen, who wasn't a Wall Street hack, a UC Berkeley economist, as Treasury Secretary. I don't agree with many of her decisions. And it's also worth noting that many donors are trying to go after Lina Khan, who for me is one of the best people in the Biden administration. And I really hope, the head chair of the Federal Trade Commission. So I hope she will stay on, because at the minimum, what we must fight for is a diverse set of voices and constituencies in this new administration. If God bless, she gets elected, Harris gets elected. I also want to note that Jamie Dimon met with Trump when the Biden situation was looking disastrous. This dates back several months. And it's a nothing's going to fundamentally change thing. And it gets me back to something that I'm still sore about, not to bemoan the past, but which is that those in power would much rather have a Biden or a Trump than someone like a Bernie, right? Who is actually going to challenge the fundamental contours of an extractive, unjust system that is disenfranchising American peoples regardless of race or skin color or gender.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members, because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us. Become a young Turk.